I see that recording is in progress, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Obviously, we're still bringing folks on. We're up to 69 participants, which is great. Hopefully, we'll have people continue to join us. But for those of you that are on, thank you so much for joining us. It's pretty wild. This is our fifth big table session. First one we had back in spring 2020, which seems like a lifetime ago for probably all of us. But we have made really significant progress over the course of that time, and really happy to have everyone back together to talk about this opportunity that is closer than it's ever been before. It's really here. And just for those that have maybe not been involved from the very beginning, I do want to acknowledge the fact that this was really the recommendation of the Urban Jobs Task Force, the concept of the big table, which we obviously embraced, and I think again it has paid dividends already for us in these efforts. But it's based on a concept that I think we've proven in this community works, which is bringing together all of the appropriate stakeholders to the table, including some that maybe historically in this community have not been at the same table, from government leaders, labor leaders, business leaders, community leaders. We're all at the same table with the same general goals. And I think what we've shown is that even when we're not in full agreement, we've been able to work through some issues and ultimately continue to make progress in maximizing this once-in-a-generation opportunity that we have with Interstate 81. So just so everyone's aware of the agenda for today, you'll hear from me, the county executive. Deputy Mayor will then kind of facilitate the meeting. We've got we're going to hear from New York State DOT on contracting and compliance. We'll hear an update on our DBE one-stop. We'll have a panel discussion on workforce development challenges and opportunities led by Chris Montgomery. We'll do a roundtable moderated by Andrew Kroom around delivering on equity, and then hopefully have time for an open discussion. It's an aggressive agenda. I want to recognize, it's impossible to recognize everyone on here, but I want to recognize my fellow public servants and their representatives. Our two federal senators have been leaders on this front from the beginning. We've got Joe Nemi here from Senate Majority Leader Schumer's office, Jamie Fuse from Senator Gillibrand's office. We also have Congressman Katko's office represented with Alexis Castaneda. We have Tracy DeGenova from Governor Hochul's office, Sherry Dozier Owens from Controller DiNapoli's office. I see Assemblyman Al Sturpey is on with us. Senator Rachel May, if she isn't already, will be on. Greg Sawicki, representing Assembly Transportation Chair Bill Magnarelli. Our Common Council President, Helen Hudson, who again has been really integral to the efforts to bring all of these stakeholders to the table. Common Councilor Jen Schultz, who is the Council Transportation Chair, Joe Driscoll, a current Common Council member, but soon to be our new 81 City Project Director. We're very excited about that. And we have Darcy Lesniak here representing the County Legislature Chair, Jim Rowley. Speaking of the county, we do have the county executive with us, who's been a great partner on all of our efforts, and I know is as anxious as all of us to maximize the opportunity that we have in front of us with 81. So I'd love to give the county executive an opportunity just to share a few thoughts.
Yeah, no, thanks, Mayor. And again, congratulations to everybody really with this format. It started a while ago when the project wasn't really defined. There was choices, right? But the work that you all have done has put this community in a better position to maximize the investment from a revitalization standpoint, from a job standpoint, and many other initiatives that we've been working on collaboratively simultaneously. It seems like the pieces are all coming together right now, where this can actually happen. And so I'm excited for everybody. I'm excited for this model to be a model that other communities can learn from and that we can replicate in this community for other large projects as well. But again, I'm a big fan and cheerleader of everybody who's been in this process, and happy to play a role and really happy for I want to acknowledge the work that Monica Williams has done on my team specifically, and I know we'll hear from her soon. But it's exciting. There's going to be a big infrastructure project in our community, likely really getting up and running in a time where we'll probably see an economic downturn in our national economy. So that's really good for us. And so, success has many authors, and everybody on this, this meeting who've been at these meetings and put the efforts in, you're one of those authors. So congratulations.
Thank you, County Exec. Appreciate it. Appreciate your participation throughout. We've also had a number of other important stakeholders. I'm not going to be able to name all of you, but I do want to recognize the fact that the Federal Highway Administration and New York State DOT have been representative and active participants in this process and are represented here at this meeting. Our brothers and sisters in labor have, again, been strong participants. I see many on the call today. And again, for everyone here, really appreciate your involvement. Just want to share a quick, I think, recent relevant story that speaks to the progress that we made and the opportunities that we have ahead of us. So I have to check for a minute. Earlier this week, it's been a bit of a blur. I spent a day down in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday with a few other folks on this call. Chris Montgomery was with me, Amy Durfee, Greg Lancette, and we were invited to go down to the U.S. Department of Labor's Good Jobs Summit that they hosted with a number of other national partners, and they brought us down to really highlight our efforts around workforce development with a specific focus on equity through Syracuse Build, specifically our Pathways to Apprenticeship program, and was a great opportunity to shine some light on our collective efforts and the progress that we've made, and I think are increasingly becoming a national model for this work. I had an opportunity to sit on two panels, a mayor's panel where I sat with the mayor of Baltimore, mayor of Scranton, and mayor of Beaverton, Oregon. After that panel session, Secretary of Labor Marty Walsh, former mayor of Boston, invited us up to his office where we had a really good conversation that covered everything from specifically talking about 81 and Syracuse Build to NFL football. It was a really good opportunity to engage at an intimate level and make sure that our collective efforts are very much on his radar and his team's radar. Similarly, I also had an opportunity to have a one-on-one with Mitch Landrieu, who is a former New Orleans mayor and currently the president's advisor on all things infrastructure, the infrastructure czar, if you will. Again, took the opportunity to talk about Interstate 81, also to talk about our efforts with the Syracuse Housing Authority related to the new 15th Ward opportunity. And he, again, was very engaged, impressed with what we're doing, with the opportunities ahead of us, and anxious to make sure we take full advantage of the opportunity and to take full advantage of the resources associated with the federal bipartisan infrastructure law. So, again, great opportunity to make sure that we are on all the right radars in DC. And I think the entire team showed Syracuse very well. So, again, real convergence of opportunities here. I just want to quickly highlight a few of the accomplishments since we've started, because it is important to recognize where we've had some wins, even as we try to get a whole lot more. But we have, back when we started this process, we were talking about a SEP 14 application, and we now have local hiring preferences on federal infrastructure projects, part of federal law, which is really significant. We are in a position where we are able to achieve local hiring goals, specifically on the Interstate 81 project. And again, we have, I think, as evidenced by the representation on this call, much stronger cooperation between the public and private sectors here and all of the partners on this call. So some good wins, lots more to do. And really what we want to focus on during today's meeting is on equity. and making sure that we are maximizing this opportunity and centering our efforts around historically marginalized populations, communities of color, women, veterans, other disadvantaged groups. And so that's, again, going to be the focus of today. So with that, I want to turn it over to Deputy Mayor Sharon Owens, who will begin facilitating the meeting for us. So Sharon, you are up. Thanks again, everybody.
Good morning, and thank you for that summary. It is exciting. We're on our 5th meeting of the Interstate 81 Jobs Big Table. Again, shout out to the Urban Jobs Task Force who brought this idea to the city of Syracuse. And it is, looking at the attendance list today, grown and continues to operate. And as the mayor talked about, what we are doing collaboratively in this city around this project is being watched. On a national level, on a regional level, our neighbors around us want to know, how did you get all these stakeholders together around the table, and you've been able to continue to do it for almost a couple of years now. And we as a community, while we still have work to do, and we'll talk about that today, we as a community should be proud of what we've been able to do in what we know is a generational project. So with that, the agenda, just to go over it again, it is my job to keep this show moving. So we'll be talking about contracting and compliance, DBE One Stop, workforce collaboration, progress and challenges, virtual roundtable delivery on equity. And then we'll round it out for everyone on the call who's new to the call with a Q&A and discussion center. And then Mayor Walsh will close us out. Next slide, please. So before we get to the DBE.
Sharon, that's a misfire. I think we want that to be, that's a misfire, and I think we want to hit first.
Greg, I got it, Greg. I got it.
Thank you.
Before we go to DBE One Stop, we're gonna thank Betsy Parmalee from the New York DOT for speaking to us around contracting and compliance updates. Thanks, Betsy.
Hi, thanks for having me. Greg, can you give me permission to share my screen? I have a presentation.
Betsy, the good news is with this system, you should have permission, and all you need to do is just take share. I don't think do you need those privileges from me right now?
It doesn't let me.
All right, let me try to get you and make sure I can get you those privileges. Hang on. I would have thought you had them, Bets. Change role, make presenter. I'm thinking that you now have it.
Yes, perfect. All right, let me just get this going. Okay. Just, sorry, bear with me. I got to get it to the right screen, right? Hold on, let me try that again, get it to the right spot. Okay, you can see my presentation, hopefully?
We've got you.
Got it, perfect. Okay, sorry about that. So thanks for having me. This is a really exciting time for the I-81 project. We've had some pretty big milestones recently. So my goal with my presentation is just to basically go over the breakdown of the contracts, the what, the when, and the where. So you know where the work's happening, when it's happening, and what we're doing. So I think most of you are probably very familiar with the project. So just a quick rundown. As we know, the big focus on the I-81 project is the community grid and the removal of the viaduct. But there's a lot of work that we need to do to get us to that point. And that includes converting I-81 to Business Loop 81, north of Erie Boulevard, south of Erie Boulevard. It includes work on 481, the northern interchange, at the southern interchange, along 481 near the CSX bridges and exit 3. It also includes work on 690 at Krause and Irving, and then there's local street improvements, and then of course, you know, we get down to Almond Street. So I think we all know about that. You know, obviously the conversion of Business Loop 81 and then 481 to I-81, that's our ultimate goal with this project. So again, we're activating the street grid with this project. The goal of this project, one of the many goals of this project, is to really provide a lot more opportunity for people to get to downtown Syracuse. You know, we know majority of the people on the interstate in Syracuse are destined for Syracuse. So the I-81 project not only removes the viaduct and creates a community grid along Almond Street, but it expands on that grid by these gateway features at 690 Krause and Irving, at the West Street interchange, and at the new 690 Business Loop 81 interchange, along with the work south at Business Loop 81 near Van Buren and Colvin Street. So where are we with this project? So you probably heard, huge milestone for us. The ROD was signed, the record of decision. Basically, what this means is that the NEPA process, or the environmental process, is complete. You know, there'll certainly probably be steps along the way that we'll have to reevaluate, but this means that we can start to acquire property, we can begin final design on the projects, and we can start getting contractors selected and working. So that's huge. You know, we've all been working on this and talking about this project for so long, so it's nice to finally be at this point. All right, so, you know, I think everyone's been really curious about, you know, what's happening, when is it happening, and how is it going to impact me, and what type of work is available. So this is a really big overview of how we're phasing the project. So as you know, $2.25 billion for a 6-year contract. We're breaking it into 2 phases. So phase 1 is the preparatory work for us to get 481 really up to capacity, so then we can move to the downtown area in order to eventually take down the viaduct. So phase 1 work includes the northern interchange of I-81, 481, the 481 corridor of, you know, near CSX from basically the thruway down to 690. It also includes the southern interchange of 481 and I-81. Phase 1 also includes some work downtown. And I'll switch over to this map. So you can kind of see we have some overlap. So Bear Street is in phase 1. There's some work at North Clinton and Gannett. Phase 1 also includes the work at 690 in Krause and Irving, along with the conversion of Business Loop 81, work from basically Van Buren down to Colvin. So I'll get into greater detail of all these contracts. So then phase 2, we start moving, really getting into the heart of downtown. And that's where the viaduct is, and Almond Street, the 690 reconstruction, and some of the Business Loop 81 work within the city. So a few things to keep in mind. You know, this preparatory work on 481 is so when it comes time to get downtown, we're ready to handle that capacity of maybe additional traffic. But 81 will remain open during phase 1. So in this area, basically north of Erie Boulevard, this will remain a high-speed freeway all of phase 1. And during phase 2, we'll do our widening work to expand on that area. Same with the southern half of Business Loop 81. This is a high-speed highway. There will be construction in phase 1 to convert it, but it will remain that high-speed freeway. So the phases are broken up by cost of, you know, $1.2 billion for phase 2, and over $1 billion for phase 1. So now we're going to get into the contract. So contract 1, we're actually in the procurement process now. We issued the letter of intent, which really notifies the contracting industry that we have a project, and we issued that in November. Last Friday, we issued our final RFP, which is our request for proposals. And that basically is the design build teams. This is a design build contract. They submit their proposals based on this final document. So contract one, what this contract includes is that connection of the existing 481 to I-81, make that high-speed connection. It's currently an off-ramp. So there's multiple bridges, there's noise walls, there's a lot of sign work. This project will also create that connection between Business Loop 81 and existing 81, which will really become that off-ramp instead of that high-speed connection. So there's significant work at the northern interchange. As we progress down 481, we're also widening 481. So we're widening in the northbound direction between 690 to the thruway, and in the southbound direction between Kirkville Road and 690. And that includes those CSX bridges. So something to note that's a little different than maybe what you've heard in the past or what you've seen is that originally all of the widening work, including the CSX bridges, was going to be in contract one. I think 24 hours before our final RFP went out, we did move that work into contract two. It has no impact on the project. It was just a movement of work into a different contract, various reasons. A lot of it had to do with coordination with the railroad. So the majority of the work in contract one, it'll now be a little bit of a smaller contract, still very significant, you know, over $200 million of the northern interchange and some widening. This work over CSX is moving into contract two. So this work will start shovels in the ground fall of 2022 with substantial construction starting in 2023. So the work starts in the spring of 2022, the substantial construction. So that gets the ball rolling. So this is just an image of the CSX bridges, and you can imagine the challenges that we're going to have with constructing this. So then moving on to contract two, this is the southern interchange work. So very much like the northern interchange, we're making that high-speed connection between I-81 and the new I-81 existing 481, and then we'll create the off-ramps to connect 81 to Business Loop 81. This work involves relocation of the East Glen Ave Bridge, a Brighton Ave Bridge and Brighton Ave improvements. It includes improved pedestrian accommodations and cycling accommodations, noise walls, a lot of sign work in this area. This contract also includes improvements to exit 3. So this is a part of the project that we actually got a lot of community feedback early on from the preliminary DEIS, I believe it was. And so we did some further analysis, and I think anyone that's driven this corridor knows that there's some pretty big delays on 481, and it causes a bit of a crash pattern along this bridge. So our proposal essentially realigns the eastbound and westbound southbound 481 exits to where the current westbound exit is. So it'll be a 2-lane exit opening up to a 3-lane exit controlled by a traffic signal on 5 and 92. And what this does is really it allows the traffic on 5 and 92 to flow pretty freely. And then it also allows people to get in the right position for where they need to be from the off-ramp to travel on 5 and 92. And, you know, this is one of our busiest corridors in all of Onondaga County, actually. It's busier than some of our interstate routes. And right now there's a lot of jockeying for position, and this will calm things down. So there's also some improvements at Linden Corners to widen to just get people through to eastbound 92 towards Manlius. So this is just a graphic representation. You can kind of see where currently if you were to go eastbound, you would get off and go on the Cloverleaf. Now you would get off and go where you would currently exit for westbound 5 and 92. And this is a nice image of what that will look like. And I do think that will be a significant improvement for the corridor and the community. So I should add, so contract 2, the letter of intent is probably going out in the next few days. So again, that's letting the contracting industry know that we have a contract, and we will be awarding a contract in the, I guess, mid 2023 with construction starting then. So now we have 2 contracts and starting, more or less underway in 2023. So that's now we're building the list. So contract 3 is what we call our northern section, Business Loop 81 northern section, local streets. And we've had some great collaboration with the city of Syracuse recently to really work out some of the finer details of this project, such as pedestrian accommodations where parking might be. And we really look forward to continuing that. But basically, this is where Clinton Street gets reconstructed and extended to Butternut. We'll be replacing the Bear Court and Spencer bridges over 81 in this area. And we'll be performing some on and off ramp work. It should be noted that on this project, 81 remains completely active. This is preparatory work. So the bridges will be built in anticipation of the widening for Business Loop 81 in this area. A little more imagery, you can kind of see what this would look like. So this is Mission Landing here to kind of orientate yourself. Here's the new Butternut Bridge, 690, the VIP Structures building, and you can see the new connections in the Clinton Street extension. Just a visual of what we're hoping to make North Clinton Street look like. And again, working with the city has been really great to help us reach that shared vision. So this project, unlike the first 2 that are design build, this project is a design bid build, which is our traditional method of designing a project and getting a contractor on board. So we expect this project to be awarded in 2023 also. And again, expected completion in 2025, just like the other 2. So now we're at 3 contracts. This is the first one that's really going to be downtown, underway mid 2023. So this is where we really start to get into the city work. So I know we've talked a lot about construction's getting started, and it may not be getting started today, but by the summer of 2023, we will be fully in construction on this project, especially downtown. So contract 4, moving on. So this is 690 at Krause and Irving. And this is really where we start also activating that community grid and providing a gateway to the University Hill. So basically, Krause will be reconstructed from Burnett to Genesee and rehabilitated up to Adams. So that means rehabilitated will be milling and paving the pavement so we can restripe it to 2 lanes, to a lane in each direction, lanes in each direction. Irving will be extended, so it'll actually go under 690, and it will connect with the new ramps that we'll be creating at Krause and Irving. So you can kind of see in this visual, so this is 690 headed westbound. This is an off ramp. You can kind of see the on ramp would be going on the other side. And then this is the on ramp to go westbound. And then the eastbound ramp is right in this area. This is 6 bridges, full reconstruction of 690 from Lodi to Irving. And this is a visual of what we envision the corridor to look like, Irving looking northwest. And we also recently collaborated with some members of a city team to really try to visualize what this is going to look like so we can make sure we're meeting our goals and the city is happy with what we're proposing. And this is that new gateway. Anyone that travels on I-81 and gets off at Adams, they know what the bottleneck is like. And this is one of those opportunities where if you're coming from Camillus, you'd take 690 to this point. If you're coming from the north, you could take Business Loop 81 to 690 to this point. If you're from the east, you can take the new 81 to 690 to this point. So this is really a great spot to have the gateway to one of the biggest employment hubs in our area. So when is this going to happen? So this is going to this is another design bid build contract. So that means, we'll design it with either consultants or DOT staff and then put it out to bid for a contractor. And we expect that to be awarded sometime in the fall of 2023. So construction could start in 2023, late 2023. So kind of building up the contracts. Downtown now we'll have 2 contracts underway at some point in 2023, along with 2024 and 2025 when they're all expected to be completed. So contract 5, moving on, is that southern half of Business Loop 81. It's that conversion of 81 to Business Loop 81. And it starts just south of Colvin Street, where we'll be building a northbound off-ramp, which provides access to the back of the hill. And this is where we'll start to bring the Business Loop 81 down to grade, slow the speeds down, and eventually get it to the roundabout at Van Buren. You know, I think everyone was aware of the comments we received about where our original roundabout location was. So we did move it to Van Buren. And you can see it opens up a large buffer between the school and Business Loop 81. A shared use path will run along the west side of Business Loop 81. This work does include realignment of the railroad and a new railroad bridge, and you can kind of see this in the image. And like I mentioned, the new roundabout. So this gives a different access to the hill at the roundabout, the backside of the university area through the Colvin Street off-ramp. And then it really starts, now we're starting to connect the areas that were once blocked by the viaduct.
Betsy, if we can wrap up a couple minutes.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
So again, this one starting construction, it's a design bid build as well. And this will be awarded probably late 2023, so construction in 2024 and 2025. So those are all the contracts for phase 1, and those will occur between 23 and 2025. So during that time, 2023, 24, and 25, those five contracts will be under construction. So I'll quickly go over phase 2 because those will not start until 2026. But those contracts include the reconstruction and realignment of 690, which is our largest contract. And that again will start sometime in 2026 with a completion date at the end of 2028. Another contract would be the Northern Business Loop 81, where we widen the existing 81 from Erie Boulevard to about Hiawatha. We'll maintain traffic while we're widening. There will be a work zone, but we will maintain traffic. Again, this will start sometime in 2026 with a completion in 2028. And then last but not least, certainly the community grid, Almond Street. This is where we'll actually do the improvements to Almond Street, and this is contract 8. Again, with a construction sometime in 2026 with a completion of 2028. So that's where we're at. So thank you for letting me share the contracts.
Betsy, thank you so much. Critical information to understand the scope of this project that we've been waiting for many, many years. You will be here for the duration of the meeting?
Yes.
Yes. So please jot down your questions. We'll have time at the end, and Betsy will be here if there's any questions you have. So we're going to move along on the agenda to talk about DBE One Stop. Monica Williams and myself, our partner in this effort. Just a reminder.
Lost your audio, Sharon.
Got you. The purpose of the DBE is, as we look at this project, ensuring equity across the board. And so we spent a lot of time talking about local hire and workforce preparation and opportunities for labor on the project. And you're going to hear a lot of information right after Monica and I on this. But the other area of equitable opportunity is absolutely businesses. And so as we talked about this federal project and DBE, we came up with the concept of a DBE One Stop. And what that means is the availability for existing organizations to receive information, advocacy on their behalf, continuing to ensure that they are connected in a efficient manner with the DOT and the Federal Highway Administration, and also providing an opportunity for technical assistance and certification for companies who can become DVEs, working alongside Robert Short, who's on this call. And so the DVE One Stop is a collaborative effort between the city and the county, sharing this responsibility to get us started on this, and then we will be pursuing together continued funding. But we're committing, both of us, $1 million to move this initial effort forward. Half of that from the county, half of that I'll be approaching the Common Council, and I've given them a heads up on many occasions about coming before them for this. Also a part of this is revenue for business capacity, whether that'll be revolving loan or grant for equipment, for technical assistance, for soft skill needs for companies. So with that, Monica, I'll let you come on board and talk about the One Stop.
Yes, thank you, Sharon. First of all, I want to say thank you to yourself, Sharon, in collaborating with me on this. This has been quite interesting trying to pull this all together. I mean, Sharon and I have been burning the midnight late hours trying to come up with a budget as to what this really looks like. And you know, along with the mayor, the county executive has been phenomenal in providing me latitude on working with the city on this, is in regards to helping our businesses get themselves in position to be able to work on the I-81 project and other projects that may be coming along. And so for that, I'm very grateful to the county executive for allowing me this opportunity. One thing I would like to for everyone to know about this One Stop that Sharon and I and others have been working on is that we are finally to a point where we have some partners that we are able to now start moving forward in regards to getting this DBE certifications done. And so right now we're looking for a physical space to be able to do that. I will be going on some site visits next week to look at opportunities as to where this One Stop will be housed for that portion of it. And again, to what Sharon said, it's about providing opportunities and assistance to companies that, you know, in the past may not have been afforded those opportunities. And we want it to be a place where they come and begin to get all of their questions answered. Maybe we need to provide assistance. Where do they go for funding and different things that this One Stop will do to help all of those businesses. Again, you know, some of the things that we are coming up against is our time. Sharon and I are both quite busy and trying to find the time to really pull this all together. We've come up with like how many, Sharon? About 5 different budgets, trying to keep in mind what we're working with in the initial phase of this in order to be able to leverage other monies. I'm excited about this One Stop. I'm excited about our partnership with others to be able to offer a service that I think moving forward is something that the city and the county can be very proud of, that we were able to work collaboratively to pull this together. Right now, we are in the phase of getting able to have these companies be able to be DBE certified. So we're moving fast forward with that. I did present our budget to the county executive, which again, even with presenting that the other day, I do have the final pare down, which we are within our $1 million, and we're excited about that. So again, I want to thank the city for the opportunity of working with you, Deputy Mayor, and also the mayor and the county exec for this opportunity. I think once this is fully rolled out, I think there is going to be a lot of people in our community very happy at what we have all worked together to do. So for that, I want to say thank you to all that were a part of this.
Thank you, Monica. Also, I'll add, because I know there are some DBE companies on the call, we will be pulling together an advisory council to help us continue to ensure that we're headed in the direction that best benefits our existing and our newly certified DBEs as we continue to work with the DOT and the Federal Highway Administration. So thank you, Monica, for that update on the one-stop shop.
You're welcome.
So moving forward, so much work has been done, amazing work on workforce and labor opportunities. And so with that, I'm gonna turn the mic over to Chris Montgomery, the director of Syracuse Build. And wherever I am, I must shout out Chris Montgomery and Ebony Farrell. They have been knocking this out of the park in the work of Syracuse Build and Pathways to Apprenticeship. Chris?
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Walsh. Thank you, County Exec Ryan McMahon, for providing this avenue for me to talk about the current Workforce Collaborative and to present.
You do have a share, you have share privileges now. If you want to make a quick change, you can load what you've got.
Awesome. Allow me to be able to share the progress and challenges that we are having with the Workforce Collaborative, but also to share some of the amazing news about what's going on. And this cannot be done without the people that I'm getting ready to share this 15 minutes with: Amy Durfee from Interstate CEO, Aggie Lane from Urban Jobs Task Force, and Al Marzullo from IBEW, who has been championing a lot of what's been going on with Syracuse Build. So I thank the three of them a lot. So as I share my screen, we're going to go and take a look at the I-81 viaduct labor demands. Then we're going to talk about the Workforce Collaborative updates that have been had. We're going to talk about the challenges, and then we're going to finish it off with showing you a video of actually how the progress has been going with Syracuse Build and our pathways to apprenticeship. So as I share my screen, I am going to have Aggie start us off.
Okay, Chris, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So for some years now, we are wondering about what the actual labor demand is. And so the chart that says 4 trades in high demand, that comes from the FEIS. It may be not up to date now that I'm hearing how the contracts are being moved around, but bottom line, the entire project is an enormous project, 7.7 million work hours. And when you look at the FEIS, you know, it seems like there's going to be 50 trades are needed for that project, but there are 4 trades that are in high demand that we really need to pay attention to. Laborers, truckers, carpenters, and iron workers. And depending upon the phase, that percentage fluctuates, but those are the trades that are in high demand. So along with that demand, we have a 15% local hire goal, which is over 1 million hours for mainly city residents. And so we needed to look at how many trained, experienced city workers we already have. And that's a hard number to get your arms around, but one was through Jobs EQ estimate, a snapshot in 2020. And we had about 973. They didn't have any data on truckers. And then we actually went and looked at the Joint School Construction Board's data around the renovation project. And we saw that they had, of the laborers, carpenters, and iron workers, 286 total. It's a little side note, 85 of those 286 were apprentices. So then it's sort of like, what does the DOTs and Syracuse Build and other training partners like at SUNY EOC, what do they have to, who do they have to train for what? And because there's a real deficit of and shortage of CDL drivers, they're focusing on CDL program. And when they were working up the local hire proposal, they wanted to train 10 a year for 6 years. And so we got 60. New York State has a highway construction training program that in partnership with Syracuse Build and SUNY EOC, they'll be putting on. And they're wanting over the 6 years to do 240. And then Syracuse Pathways to Apprenticeships, working really hard to get people in the unions. And it's interesting, the iron workers are one of the 7 unions that they are working with. So they're hoping over those 6 years to train 570 people in the city who really want to get on the project. And lastly, the New York State has an OJT program, and they hope to register 186 apprentices or New York State trainees for this. And this program would incentivize contractors to hire apprentices and trainees by paying part of that hourly wage. And the program is mainly for those who are underrepresented in the construction trades, disadvantaged people, minorities, and women. So most likely many of those will be also city residents. So that's where we're at, and lot to do. Pass it back to you, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. So moving along, so where is Syracuse Build at in progress with everything that has been said, looking at the estimates and how we're going to prepare folks for opportunities such as I-81. And it starts with aligning our partners. I'm happy to report that we have 100 plus, and I say plus because every day we're identifying contractors that are showing that they want to align with the Syracuse Build Initiative. But I take it back to our anchor partners, government institutions, workforce development, our organized labor, contractors, community-based organizations, and strategic partners that continue to help Syracuse Build with aligning efforts to get folks prepared for construction-related opportunities. Moving it over, we've identified 25 plus construction-related programs. This is going to help us do many things with finding out how we can create training opportunities as we learn about the various positions that are going to happen on major projects, and how do we build training around that. Every day we're at the table with our training providers and our anchor partners to be able to explore those opportunities. Another way that we are preparing the workforce is through our Syracuse Built Network. For some of you, you may have known it to be called Breezy, but we wanted to put a name for it that people can relate to and recognize. So the Syracuse Built Network is where we're going to house everyone that has an interest that lives in the city of Syracuse in construction-related opportunities. So this is our hiring hall software to be able to track the talent that we have in our area in real time. And I say 733 because it's growing every day, and this is what we were able to record from our Pathways to Apprenticeship recruitment cycles, our customized HVAC cohort, folks that have learned about Syracuse Build and are applying by hitting the QR code word of mouth. So every day, this Syracuse Built network is growing, and this is going to be a major focal point for us as we continue to move forward. And then 197 people trained or actively in construction-related training. We've got this number by identifying through CNY Works individual training accounts in the Syracuse Built network. We are finding folks that are in construction trades training, CDL training, welding training, and pathways to apprenticeship training. And we're working hard to identify folks to add to the number of trained so that we can reach that goal of making sure we have over 500 folks that are ready for opportunities as it relates to I-81. I'll turn it over to Al and Amy to add any context on the Syracuse Build progress before we jump into challenges.
Just to let the group know, keeping track, about 11:35, we're going to switch over.
Yep.
Okay.
Hearing none, I'll switch over to our challenges. So the workforce challenges, I don't really like to call it challenge. I see opportunities for growth. So for us, expanding training opportunities and capacity is continuing to learn about the different positions that are coming online, learning about what the needs are and how we continue to build training and capacity with those programs. We know that we've seen a huge success with Pathways to Apprenticeship. So how do we grow that capacity to make sure that there's more opportunities and more opportunities with our union partners? So more union engagement. We've seen success through 3 cohorts. Our 3rd cohort of Pathways to Apprenticeship is currently underway. And I'm happy to say it's going really well. They're in week 9 and they're going to be wrapping up July 15th. So how do we continue to engage our union partnership, because it is essential to the success of that program? And how do we continue to identify more unions to be engaged? Identifying local residents. We are learning that through the New York State DOT, that through the local hire incentives, that we need to find more local residents that we are not seeing that have the skills, and how do we get them in our Syracuse Built network and continue to explore those opportunities. And funding. What we do cannot be done without funding. We are identifying different funding streams and continue to build success with finding funding for our pre-apprenticeship cycles and construction-related trainings. And with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll have some additional comments made by our workforce group.
This is Amy Durfee from Interstate. I'm happy to just add a little bit. I think one of our next big hills to climb is to expand pathways to train more people. And that is not an easy feat. I think the scaling a program is challenging for a lot of reasons, and funding is just one piece of it. So I know that's one piece that Chris and his team has ahead of him. We're right behind him all the way. But I think to get to the goals that we're talking about, we're really going to need to do more of that program.
Awesome. And before we wrap up, it's one thing for us to talk about the success, but we want you to see the success in real time. So I'm going to show a video that was aired a few weeks ago that captures what we're doing with the Syracuse Build Initiative.
Section that. Meet Shannon Thomas, a graduate of the 11-week Pathways to Apprenticeship program.
Pumps and setups. So my job is to controls for units, pumps itself.
The father of 3 heard about the program when it launched in 2021 and jumped at the opportunity to the electrical industry.
I seen a flyer all over Facebook and internet. said Syracuse built on top, and I'm from Syracuse. I grew up in Syracuse, and the way better about getting back to build.
Pathways to Apprenticeship is one of the programs that is part of the Syracuse Build Initiative, designed to grow Syracuse's construction industry by connecting city residents to earning livable wages with construction jobs. Ebony Farrow is the program manager.
Excellent. He's working on his images. Good job. Making sure that they have access to the same things that I've been afforded to. So no matter what door I walk in, I'm bringing everyone with me to upskill. The point is to make sure that you have an arsenal of weapons to make sure that you're the person that's chosen for the employment opportunity. Excellent job, Mr. Flagg.
The program has graduated 2 classes in less than 1 year, and all graduates have been offered positions in one of the 7 trade unions.
This one's gonna go right here when it comes to this is a ground side. Okay. So it was an 11-week paid program. They actually paid the training. I got certified in CPR, transportation. I can start work right away. I think it's an amazing benefit program. I think I'm excited. So I'm excited.
Talk about having minorities on the site. You can have all Black men, all white women, and still miss the intersection of Black women. So we are trying, Black and brown women, we are trying to get all of our women, as many as we can, into this field of construction.
Pathways works to remove as many roadblocks as possible for Syracuse residents interested in employment.
Well, we help with things like license repair, if that means that we're trying to help someone obtain a license. If we can pay some things off, like maybe some fines, we have that. We have representation for them in court if need be. We also help with childcare services. We have a family model here where once we cross paths, because we're talking about the next 20, 30 years of someone's life, setting them up for employment, then that means that we are family and we are here to help one another.
It's the connection. Pathways, that Ebony, she does a wonderful job. Everything. Set me up. She's like centerpiece of the puzzle. We need more people like Ebony. Program help create a future for our children. I'll be able to support
A community working together to create hope and a pathway to a brighter future for generations. Lacey Leonardi, Spectrum News.
Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you to the entire Workforce Collaborative team. I've been sitting in those meetings and you guys have been working really hard on creating these opportunities. And again, pathways into our union partners. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. We're going to move along now to a virtual roundtable delivering on equity. Andrew Kroom will serve as the moderator. Andrew?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And thank you, Mayor Walsh, for your continued commitment to this roundtable. It's really encouraging to see so many people continue to come, hear the progress that's been made, and learn a little bit each time about what needs to be done to bring equity to this project. Today, I'll be moderating a roundtable. I'll just introduce our participants very quickly. Senator Rachel May, Common Council President Helen Hudson, Decca Dancel of UJTF, Amy Durfee of Interstate CEO, and Scott Butler of the New York State DOT. And we'll get started with our first topic, which is around funding. And funding is a critical component to successfully meet our call to action to deliver equity on the I-81 project. Senator May, can you discuss the work you have done around funding and what actions participants at the big table can take to ensure continued and hopefully increased funding in the future?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. And thanks to everybody who's been presenting. This has been really enlightening. Yeah, I mean, it's been my chief role here has been trying to secure funding, and we have managed to get it in the budget the last 2 years, which has been great. I want to say the best argument for getting it in the budget has been the fact that so many people are at the table, that there is buy-in, that there is real on the ground effort to recruit people from within the city to these jobs and to make sure that it's serving the people that should serve. So big shout out to Decca and Aggie and Chris and everyone who's doing that work, because you make it easy for me to advocate for the money.
Great, thank you. Are there any other participants of the roundtable that have any thoughts on funding and what we might be able to do to ensure that's secured going forward? And if not, we'll move on.
I do. I'm going to jump in, Andrew, and I want to say, first off, I want to thank the Common Council because Deputy Mayor has presented to us some ways to actually continue to keep funding pathways. So with that, my colleagues, we're working really closely and we're working diligently to ensure that this pathways and Syracuse Surge and everything just comes together. So yeah, we're going to continue to keep plugging.
I'm just wondering, maybe I missed it. Is there a number, a budget that we're looking to fill? How much is that?
Is there anybody in the roundtable that could answer that, or we can save that for the open discussion?
Okay.
This is Amy. I don't know, Andrew, if you wanted me to go through what I was going to present, which does include a workforce number.
Yeah, Amy, that would be great.
Or
So
should
Amy's going to speak a little bit about what is needed for Syracuse Build to continue its success.
Okay. Yeah. So the number that we think, this is very broad strokes, is really made up of a number of different components. Before I get into that, I just want to say how much of a collaborative process this is. In addition to the elected representatives, we've got labor, the training institutions, SUNY EOC and BOCES, who their structures are subsidizing a lot of this work. So just to kind of go back to the numbers, thanks to Aggie, we know 570 people. And the group has identified 3 places for training for those to get to that number: Pathways to Apprenticeship, DOT Work Smart, which is at SUNY EOC, a number of other programs at EOC that are complementing that, and CDL training, which is a whole other nut to crack. So we break this down. Pathways to Apprenticeship, we're running 2 cohorts right now. To meet this goal, we're going to need to move to 3 cohorts a year. I will say this program is not cheap, but 1/3 of the cost is student stipends. We are paying people minimum wage for every hour that they're in training. And that has allowed people who are unemployed and underemployed to spend 11 weeks in training. Our retention is fantastic. And we think that the paying people a good amount of money to be there is what causes that to happen. Your other costs are union apprenticeship instructors, math instructors, support services from community centers, the Vehicles to Work program, which Andrew, you have been such a huge part of, getting people their driver's licenses back, getting them into cars, repairing cars, buying cars, dealing with fines and fees, and then direct support to graduates after they graduate. It costs a lot of money just to start working in construction. You have to pay union dues, you have to buy tools, boots, all kinds of, you have to pay for gas if you're going back and forth. So we've been subsidizing a lot of that to get people up and running. Second category of costs, we have Syracuse Build infrastructure, the work that Chris and Kelsey are doing to manage that centralized hiring hall, to coordinate outreach, to coordinate all the training and employers and unions to make sure that pipeline is there. We also have costs for the work of EOC, which goes far beyond what we've been putting into EOC, the actual true costs, but there's the DOT Work Smart program plus the sidewalk program and Build Ready, all kinds of construction preparatory programs at EOC. And then just a couple other things, CDL training. So we have a bottleneck of CDL training here. We need to add capacity. So there are plans in the works to do that. There's need for outreach and career exploration. People who might want to get into construction but need to understand how that works. Support services, and scaling the vehicles to work program. Right now it's operating just in pathways, but we know that for anyone to work in construction, they need a car. So we want to build that program out. That involves adding to the loan pool, paying for more attorney time and legal time, helping people just repair their existing cars, all those costs. So we think, this is just a general number, but we think conservatively we probably need $1.5 to $2 million a year to do all of this. Where are we going to get it? So I'm going to just, I'm not going to go through all of our funding at this point, but 4 sources that we have that are kind of waiting in the wings. Center State put in a proposal to US EDA to their Good Jobs Challenge that would support adding pathways cohorts in Syracuse. We have, thank you, Senator May, for your continued support coming in. We have funding coming in from DOT. Thank you very much. Workforce Development Institute has stepped up to the plate, Dave Goodness. And then inside of CNY Works, CNY Works was allocated $1 million of DOL funding that is supporting training in CDL, construction trades, and welding to meet these high demand trades. But it's important to build some more synergy between that funding and Syracuse Build. Other sources we can, I'm almost done. Also, other sources we can go after. At the state, Workforce Development Initiative is $175 million state funding for workforce. As the mayor mentioned on our trip to DC, we learned a lot about the federal infrastructure funding. There is apparently US DOT funding can be used for training, which we need to learn more about. And the bipartisan infrastructure law, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, that is paying for, it's $550 billion in infrastructure money, and it has some threads of workforce in it. So that's part of the work ahead for us as a group, is to start to understand that a little bit better and start to build our own capacity to access these funds, not just for Syracuse Build, but for the city and the county as well. So I want to finish by saying this fundraising and managing funds is a collaborative process. Center State, we've been managing a lot of the funds, and new funding that's coming in, we want to send it to CNY Works so that Chris and Syracuse Build can be managing it. But funding is living in lots of other partners' places as well. So it's not like there's one funnel and it goes to one place. But we want to anchor the funding at CNY Works, but also understanding that there are resources that other institutions are bringing to the table that are contributing to the full effect here.
Thank you, Amy. That was incredibly great information. And as somebody that has a very tiny part in the Pathways program, I just want to encourage everybody to learn more about it and look at the just awesome job they're doing. And now once we get all these individuals trained, then what happens? Right? Then we have to say, how do we get them into the workforce? And one of the likely avenues is through union membership and union apprenticeships. So to the roundtable group, I just want to get everybody's perspective on what union participation currently looks like, what union participation is still needed, and why is that participation so important? And then also, what is being done to ensure that there's a focus on apprentices on the I-81 program? That's to all the participants of the roundtable. If anybody wants to just jump in.
I'll just come in and briefly say, because I know that we're running out of time today, but I wanted to make a strong point around the absence of the laborers union in participating in Syracuse Build as one of the core partners. So we know that there's 7 union partners at the table, and we heard that all the graduates are receiving apprenticeship placements in, or maybe some not apprentices, but they're all being placed within the unions. It's great that from what we've seen, the data needed on the kind of 4 main trades, the iron workers were included. So it's great that they're at the table, but I'm extremely concerned that the laborers are not there, quite frankly, because they're going to be doing 25 to 33% of the work on those first 2 phases. So I am glad to see that they're at the table today for the first time, and really just would like to stress that we need them to participate in Syracuse Build as the instructors and as a part of those pipelines to the trades, because quite frankly, reaching a 15% goal without labor participation that's not going to happen. So I want to stress that to everybody on the call. And again, so I'm glad to see Gabe here today, and hope that you will consider being a strong partner with Syracuse Build. And then I also want to say to apprentices, again, that's going to be extremely important. If there is, kind of no specific set goals for apprentices in a PLA, we're concerned, again, about reaching that 15% goal, because we know that a lot of them, they're not going to be journey persons. And I can point to the I-690 PLA in the language. It had very strong language around wanting to have apprentices on the program. However, what that strong language resulted in ultimately was around 4% participation from apprentices. So we are going to have a greater focus this time. So we're looking to DOT in the trades in their process of negotiation to make sure that they prioritize apprentices. Again, if we really are, because we're all sitting around this table, we've been for years saying that we want to maximize local hire, but those things are going to be really important if we're really going to pull this off. And I want to also, again, just give credit to Syracuse Build and all they're doing. I think that all the partners, and again, even DOT, with setting the 15% goal, whether it's incentive-based or mandate-based or not, these are major strides that we've made. And I think that this community has shown that it's ready. So just a few more things to be done, but I did want to stress those points here today.
Thank you, Decca. I know we only have a few minutes left, and because the local
Andrew, I know we do, but can I jump in real quick? I want to thank everybody that's at the table, myself, for being here. And I'm going to put on my labor hat because I specifically want to thank labor for being a part of the training and the apprenticeship programs and the pathways to apprenticeship. And today I do want to thank Gabe Rossetti for coming on the call, for hearing it, for listening, and for being here. And again, thank all of the labor partners. Thank everybody that's come to the table. And I hope that we can continue to work together to build, as they say, a pathway.
Thanks, Helen. Next, I'm going to let Scott jump in and talk to us a little bit about the local hire initiative. I know that it's been spoken about. So we had gone through the SEP 14 application process, but then that SEP 14 application, at least my understanding is it wasn't needed because we now have federal regulation on being allowed to have local hires. So Scott, could you just talk a little bit around what DOT's plan is with the local hire, what the local hire initiative is, and where that is going to be located?
Yes, of course. First off, I think, touching on the SEP 14 application is allowed us, even if it was not needed for us to do the local hiring initiative that we have and will be a part of the project. It was a key part of how we got to where we are with the initiative being in the RFP. It allowed us to all discuss what it needs to be, how it works, and how to make it happen. So even though we're very thankful that the federal government and the Build Back Better gave us the opportunity to do this without a SEP 14 application, that process was still going to be necessary to get us to this point. So the department wasn't doing something, without input. So I just want to say that while it was nice to have it, it was also important for us to do that process. And I think Decca asked me yesterday, how long was that process during one of our meetings? And it was about 6 months that we spent, going back and forth about how this would work, how we would incentivize this, and really what it was going to do to help bring people into this type of work. So I just want to say that it was still very critical, even though we had the approval without having to submit our application. And I do feel our application was very strong. I'm just going to go through very quickly. I can share this. It's a part of our RFP for the first contract. But I can share it with the group and everybody can share it. I can get it to Greg and he can share it with the group. But I just want to go through some of the basics. So first off is our local hire goal is going to be 15% for the project. We can talk about why 15%, but it was something that we discussed heavily within the group of why 15%. The goal itself will be in targeted areas. One of the things to remember when we do this is there are only two parameters that we were allowed to explore: economic and geographic. After that, we're very, very hand-tied on what we can and cannot do in our incentive. So what we had done was we created a system that includes basically every zip code in the city of Syracuse, and also the Onondaga Nation as a part of the general terms. Now, we also included 2 zip codes that are what we found in our research disadvantaged areas that are outside of the city of Syracuse, that are in East Syracuse and Salt Bay. Then after that, what we created was 2 separate tiers: a tier of just city residents, right? And then a tier of city residents that also have a barrier to employment. Our 6 barriers to employment for tier 2 are being a custodial single parent, receiving federal funded housing assistance, receiving HEAP, SNAP, or Medicaid, lacking a GED or high school diploma, having a criminal conviction, or an emancipated from the foster care system. Again, these were disadvantaged barriers that we saw as a group that kept coming up. So it made it very easy for us to attach them to this. We talked about others. I will freely admit we've talked about a bunch of them, and it was trying to come up with a concise list for that. Now, this incentive, this initiative is incentivized. So the department will be supporting the salaries of said individuals in these 2 tiers. So in tier 1, which is city residents, it'll be $20 per hour that the department will be incentivized for the contract. Also, and then in tier 2, it'll be $30 an hour for those folks. So that's someone with that falls in that disadvantaged category that, again, what we're doing to make this happen, I think, is also part of on a department side. I think you heard from Chris about Workforce Partners. We've received a grant that we're working with everybody on through our ACP program. It allows us to talk as a group, but also it allows us to put funding into the training that's happening at SUNY POC. We ourselves are reaching out and trying to create new partnerships with the Onondaga Nation. Obviously, the nation is a part of this incentive. We're trying to build that bridge to help the nation be a part of this project. We're also starting to see how we can be a part of the reentry process, how we can help someone coming back into our community from being incarcerated and have an opportunity at employment. So we have a lot of things going on the department side. I can talk more about the goals, how we got to what we're doing. The other thing, to Aggie's point about apprentices and training and OJT, part of our Step 14 process that we did with everybody was including and doubling our trainee goals on this project, which is something that I know everybody was very interested in. That's also a part of our RFP. So, as we go along, I think Decca said it right. 15% is an interesting number, but it's going to take a lot of work for us to continue to fight, to continue to work to get to that number on each contract. So that's what I have.
All right, thank you, Scott. I think that's our time for today. I appreciate all of the participants in this roundtable, and hopefully everybody is seeing how this is really a holistic look at how we get to that ultimate goal of meeting our call of action of equity. I'll turn it back over to Sharon now. Thank you all.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody, for your presentations. I'm just going to ask, I'm going to take a privilege as the moderator. I know we said we were going to 12. If we can you can just give us 5 more minutes. I think I've asked people to hold their questions to the end, and I don't want to not give them that opportunity. Greg and I have had our own private conversation that there is no way that this meeting can be done in 90 minutes. So so just be prepared going forward that these will be 2-hour meetings. And if you can't make it the whole time, I understand. But I don't want the end of the agenda to be rushed because of time. We're going to have more and more information as we get into this project. So expect 2-hour meetings going forward. So with that, if you,
Sharon.
yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Totally supportive of the meeting going a little bit later, but I'm going to have to jump off. I know Assemblyman Sturpey is going on the same meeting that I am at noon. So I just wanted to take the opportunity before I did have to jump off to thank everyone again. As I mentioned, this is the 5th meeting that we've had, but we've picked people up along the way. And I think that, the latest point about labor participation, I mean, we wouldn't be where we are today without the early buy-in of folks like Al Marzullo and Greg Lancette and the other trades. And I'm, as a former local 633 laborer, I'm thrilled to see Gabe on the call. I know that he's been having conversations with Council President Hudson, and I'm really excited to have the laborers at the table and to see what comes from that. So just want to thank everybody again for your hard work and support. Again, lots more to do, but I know we're going to do it. So thanks again.
Thank you, Mayor. We understand anyone that needs to jump off the call. I'll just ask the panelists just to give us 5 more minutes. Any questions? Throw them in the chat. Raise your hand. Looking, I'm scanning.
Hi, this is Babette. I actually have a question in the chat for Deputy Mayor Owens and for Ms. Williams. Can you provide information on the role UMIA has played to date in propping up the One Stop and what will be their role moving forward?
So one of the things we deliberately kept out of the conversations was any contract. UMIA has absolutely been a part of the discussions on propping up that One Stop because Monica and I don't have time to manage the One Stop. So they are absolutely part of the discussion, but until we have further documentation, we didn't want to get into those weeds today.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. That's exactly what I was going to say. There's still a lot to be done, and we haven't really finalized everything yet. But as soon as we do, we will definitely bring all that back to this group. And Babette, we could reach out to you once that is done if you need more information.
Also,
no,
Babette,
thank you. Please answer the question. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? And if you put it in the question, because I didn't see your question, Babette, so make sure it goes to everybody. Any other questions? Anything in the chat?
Deputy Mayor, I have a question in the chat.
Yes, I don't see it, so go right ahead, Michelle.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for this most informative presentation today. And I'm very clear on how to assist those who are not yet DBE certified. However, for those in UMIA's membership ranks who are DBE certified, I'm just wondering how can we facilitate and connect them to the next step in the process so that we can help put them on a path toward becoming a subcontractor on the I-81 project. Thank you.
Shay, one of the attendees today was privately texting Monica and I. She is working with the DOT to do exactly that. An event will be taking place in August around DBE participation. Part of the one-stop goal is also their advocacy as part of the subcontracts. So more information on that. Also, any DBEs on this call right now interested in being part of the advisory role for the One Stop, please reach out to me directly and I will put my email in the chat.
Deputy Mayor Owens, this is Maddie. May I speak for a minute?
Please.
Masha, I emailed the information to you. It's also in the chat window for all the DB firms that are either participating or if you have outreach with them to share. There's 2 events coming up. One is a roundtable with the New York State DOT certification supervisor to encourage more DB participation. And the second one is, yes, as Deputy Mayor Evans was saying, the in-person event that we're doing on August 4th at the On Center. And thank you, Monica, for helping us with that. And we are very excited about it. We are hoping, all the shortlisted primes, the 3 of them, the teams will be there. So we want to be able to facilitate more opportunities for certified firms. And if they're not certified, then we want to make sure that they get certified. Thank you.
If you could forward that any of the information to the event you just spoke to my email, then we can make sure we get it out to everyone in this call.
Will do. It is
Thank you.
in the chat window. I'm not sure if I think I did send it to all attendees.
Yes, perfect.
Will do. Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. It's 12:01. Greg, you want to close us out?
Greg had to leave, Sharon.
Greg had to leave, so it is my job to close us out. Thank you all so much. We will be 2 hours for the next meeting. We do this quarterly. You saw who all the work group folks were, so make sure that if you have a question about their specific work that they're doing, reach out to them to because we meet quarterly here, but these groups are meeting on a regular basis. So be sure to reach out to them for any more detail you may have, but I really appreciate you being on board. It's a sunny day today in Syracuse. It's going to be even sunnier over the weekend. Enjoy yourself, and hope to see you all again.
Ms. Owens,
Yes,
could I ask one question before we adjourn?
yes.
I thought Ms. Dancel made a very good point in relation to the amount of members in the union that are currently laborers. And what I would like to see is, could there be an effort to find out in their roster how many or what percentage of their roster are currently people of color, women, or people with developmental disabilities? Because if we can get an idea of what that currently represents in their roster in relation to the 15% goal, because Ms. Dancel is correct, that audience especially has got to represent a prime portion to meet that workforce goal. And if the labor unions in particular are not at the table as much as the others, that's a huge disadvantage that needs to be followed up on.
Mr. Miller, thank you. Can you email that question specifically to me, please?
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you all. Have a great afternoon and a greater weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.